Apple, of course, is one of the largest market cap companies in the world, and a lot of investors are interested in Apple stock. So in this video, I'll provide a price prediction for where I think Apple stock could be by the end of 2025. Of course, I'm going to use some numbers and estimates to make this stock price prediction, and I'll share with you precisely where I'm getting those numbers from. So let's jump right into the analysis.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
All right, so one of the numbers I'm going to need is Apple's earnings per share forecast for 2025. That's this number here at $7.16. This is what analysts on Wall Street that are following Apple stock, this is what they think Apple will deliver in earnings per share in its next fiscal year 2025. So I need this number to make my stock price prediction. It's one of several numbers I'm going to need. I'm also going to need Apple's price to earnings ratio. You can see it's currently at 27.75, and it's moved higher in recent years. You can see earlier in the decade, Apple's price to earnings ratio was closer to 12, 15, and then it jumped higher over 36, and now it's settled to 27.75. It's about the average if you go back 10 years, but for the most part, it's been above this number in the last 5 years and below this number in the last 10 years if you go back after 5. So it's been a tale of two stories for Apple stock between 2024 and 2015. Between 2015 and 2019, the stock price traded at a lower valuation, and then between 2020 and 2024, the stock price has traded at a higher valuation as investors had upgraded Apple's stock valuation, mostly due to the increase in its services business. If you're unaware why that's the case, the services business is nearly twice as profitable as its hardware business. When you purchase an Apple Music subscription, Apple makes a lot more profit than if you purchase an Apple Watch, for instance. So that's why, as the services business is growing, investors are willing to pay a higher price for Apple stock because it's slowly becoming a business that's more proportioned to services and less on hardware. Don't get me wrong, it's still extremely reliant on hardware, especially the iPhone. It's still extremely reliant on that segment. And that's, in fact, one of the bigger risks with Apple stock is that it's so reliant on the iPhone. And so as it diversifies away from the iPhone, as it diversifies away from hardware, that makes the stock more attractive. And you can see that re-rating in Apple's valuation in recent years as that services segment has really gained momentum. So I'm also going to need Apple's current share price, which is at $178 per share as of this recording. So now that we have the numbers that we need to make our stock price prediction, we can go ahead and start our valuation estimate. If its earnings per share does come in at $7.16 for 2025 and the price to earnings stays at 27.75, then the stock price could end up at $198.69. If you look at the current price of $178, that would be a roughly $20 price increase from its current price. Nothing to go run home and tell mom about, but it's still a reasonable return on investment for one of the less riskier stocks in the market today, given its position in the industry. What if its price to earnings increased to 30 instead of staying at 27? Well, then the stock price could rise to $214.18, a little bit higher than where it was in the previous recommendation, roughly 7.5% higher. But the price to earnings could also fall to 25, and that could cause the stock price to remain flat at $179 per share. If the PE were to fall to 20, then the stock price could fall to $143 per share. So several scenarios I've highlighted here, 4 scenarios for Apple stock. In 3 out of the 4, Apple stock price stays flat or increases. In 1 out of the 4, Apple stock price decreases. So it's not all upside here with Apple stock. In fact, with any stock, it's not all upside. There's risks when you're investing in a stock that the price could fall. But if you were to ask me, where do I think is the most probable outcome for Apple stock by the end of 2025? I would suggest it would be between this PE of 27 and 30, and I would suggest the stock price falls somewhere in the range of $200 per share and $215 per share by the end of 2025. So there's a lot of factors that will play into that. Of course, the stock price could be much lower and it could be much higher. As you have observed, I've taken a lot of estimates and assumptions in making this calculation for where the stock price could be, and no one knows what's going to happen in the future. The analyst estimate for $7.16 could be way off, and so that will throw off this calculation significantly. Furthermore, the price to earnings ratio could fluctuate wildly, and that will throw off the estimated stock price prediction for 2025. So always keep that in mind when you're investing in stocks, that they are volatile, that they could be much higher than expected or much lower than expected. Of course, as these numbers get updated, if there should be any major changes, I will update you and I will inform you. I've been following Apple stock for almost 10 years now, and I've been making videos about Apple stock ever since I started the channel. So I frequently update Apple stock. So if you're interested in this investment, stay tuned. I'll be updating this recommendation. For now, that's my price prediction for Apple stock. It could be that I was too conservative in this estimate, and if you think that's the case, let me know in the comments below. Apple is not one of the more volatile investments in the markets today. It's not like, for example, an Nvidia stock or a Tesla stock, which price moves violently, almost daily, weekly, monthly. That stock price moves violently. But Apple is not one of those investments. I can show you the chart here in the last, this is year to date. I could go back 5 years. Here's Apple stock price, mostly moving higher. There have been some decreases in its share price, but for the better part of the last 5 years and 10 years, Apple's stock price has moved higher without very many significant violent swings on the downside for Apple stock. So you're getting a less than average, I would say, in terms of risk. If you're thinking about large tech stocks, Apple is one of the less than average risk large tech stocks in the markets today. So you're getting this return, expected return, on a stock that's less than average risk for a large tech stock. Putting itself in the industry where it's in, large tech, Apple is one of the lower risk companies in that industry. Even though it does have risk, compared to its rivals, it's one of the lower risk ones in the industry. Overall, Apple is extremely dependent on the iPhone, and as the iPhone goes, I think we'll go Apple stock. So keep a close eye on reports surrounding iPhone sales and iPhone upgrades and the latest developments with the iPhone if you want to know where Apple stock price is likely to go over the next near term and medium term. If you liked the video you just saw and you want to see more just like it, please subscribe to the channel. I can't keep this channel free without the support of viewers like you. And if you're already subscribed, thank you, and I appreciate your support.